why we've band together, so that we will always have the ability to plant our own seed, to save our own seed, and ensure the genetic heritage for future generations. So I'm so grateful to see all these people gathering together. How wonderful that we join millions around the world, all protesting on the same day. Hell no GMO. I love that sign. Hell no GMO. Hell no GMO. Hell no GMO. Hell no GMO.
Thank you all so much for coming out today. It's incredible how many of you have committed your day to come up here and try and make a change for a better world. My name is Rachel Parent. I'm 16 years old, and for the past 4 years, I've been working towards mandatory GMO labeling. That way we all have the right to know what's in our food. In goals of getting GMO labeling, that way we can gain back our transparency. The transparency that we all deserve. The transparency that 64 other countries around the world already require. And yet Canada and the US are the only two industrialized nations in the world that don't.
Boo! Yeah.
Monsanto, you say hell no, Monsanto! Hell no! Monsanto! Hell no! Woo!
Hell no! GMO! Just say no to Monsanto! Come on everybody, hell no!
Hell no!
GMO! Just say no to Monsanto! Hell no!
What do we want?
Seed freedom! Now!
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
I don't understand what you people are protesting about. Could you be a little more clear?
No GMO!
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
I love each and every one of you who's standing out and doing the right thing.
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
What do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
Oh, hey, hey! Ho, ho! GMOs have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! GMOs have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! GMOs have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! GMOs have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! GMOs have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! GMOs have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! GMOs have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! GMOs have got to go! Hey, hey! When do we want it? Now! What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Seed freedom!
When do we want it?
Now!
Well, as you can see, it's not just a march. There are vendors here where you can buy stuff. Yeah, check out these bees.
Who wants a free CD? Over 30,000 children die every day in poverty from lack of health. This wealth gap keeps increasing between rich and poor. There's more slavery now than ever before. Although democracy is supposed to be equal, government is controlled by a small group of people. Bankers and corporations are in charge. They finance presidents and then help them make Instead, they're all privatized. Every dollar that's printed ever exists is a loan that we need to pay back with interest. Fractional reserve system's a scam. Keeps the whole nation in debt, that's the plan. This is happening across the whole entire world. It only leads to global empire. The U.S. uses the World Bank and IMF to pay off politicians and put countries in debt. That debt's so big, they can never repay, so they're forced to sell all their resources as a trade. At the end of the day, it's all nothing more than economic bribery and extortion. So more and more people are becoming desperate, potential terrorists that can be arrested, and your home can be searched out without a warrant. You could be detained indefinitely and tortured. These laws are designed to destroy our liberties, so when we fight back, it limits our abilities. It's time to unite, time to reach up and defend all our rights. There's so many people in pain. It's time to reach up, time to create a change. It's time that we speak, time to reach up and demand world peace. That we've all got to believe, we've got to reach up if we want to be free. Thank you.
We are aware that the Canadian government, particularly under Harper over the last number of years, have really put a chill on the NGO community. Many of the organizations that rely on charitable numbers in order to be able to raise the funds to do the good work that they do are now being investigated by our federal government. Initially, $8 million was earmarked, and now an additional, I think, $15 million to investigate, you know, those really seedy organizations like the Sierra Club of Canada and PEN, an organization that fights to keep journalists out of jail who lost their charitable status this year because the government of Canada doesn't believe that that is charitable activity. I say shame. Why is it that the only thing that is charitable is what we do to prop up the corporatocracy? We are allowed to do charitable work if it means feeding people who lose in this economy. But if we challenge the foundations of what causes that poverty in the first place, that is now no longer considered charitable activity in this country. And again, I say shame to that. I'm also being approached by conventional farmers who are telling me that years after buying into the GMO experiment, their vet bills are going through the roof, their animals are sick, and their profits are down. And they're starting to question the story that they've been sold. So we're hoping that those of you out there who feel a little bit of motivation around this will consider stepping up and inviting us out to come and have conversations with you. We have a website, beyondpesticides.ca. It should be up and functioning in the next few weeks. And you can write us and ask us to come to your school. We are happy to come to your local organization. If you're part of a Rotary Club, any of these sorts of things, give us 20 people and we will come and have a chat with you. And now Bayer is going to find itself the emperor with no clothes, because their billion-dollar neonicotinoid industry is based on lies. We need you to stand up. Things are so bad that the regulation that we've demanded is great. It's time to stand up and call for an outright ban on these pesticides. What I do know is our increased use of GMO has meant that we have tripled the amount of glyphosate we are using on farm fields today. The soil microbiology is what gives us life. Those little critters chew up the food and make the nutrients available to the plants. We don't direct feed plants. That is old school thinking. When these people say that we are anti-science, I argue back, BS. We are pro-science. I want you to show me the science. You show me what you are feeding my children is safe, and I will feed it to them. But when you have outstanding questions, we are not prepared to be your experiment. Glyphosate was put out there as a benign product that's supposed to be better for the farm environment, and I have to tell you, those are lies. We have data from Sri Lanka and Nicaragua that show that glyphosate is binding to water in those communities based on the minerals in it, and is causing kidney disease in adults. The #1 leading cause of death of men in their mid-20s to their late 50s in Nicaragua right now is kidney disease that is likely caused by exposure to glyphosate. That is simply unacceptable. fact, you don't have to change your lifestyle. You can just buy organic. And I'm going to say that, you know what, buying organic is a first step. But absolutely, each and every one of us does have to change our lifestyles. Thinking that you have the right to fly around the planet for a vacation, or that we should have 6 colors of cars to choose from, or that, you know, entertainment complexes the size that we have them so that we are not bored, these are all a part of the problem. And I'm going to ask each and every one of you to consider what you can do to simplify your life. How can you be your own entertainment? How can you be part of this change? How do you have a relationship with your food grower? Because if we are willing to roll back our lifestyle a little bit here, that may give some breathing room to a farmer somewhere else who does not then have to be our slave labor so we can have our cushy lifestyles. It's not a very popular message, and I'm doing my best to deliver it in a friendly way. But absolutely, we must scale back our own excesses so others can simply live.
Dear genetics is changing our food molecules, rearranging you and I. They are estranging with toxics and unlabeled food. Genetically altered our soy and potatoes. Avoid the ingesting of killer tomatoes. The rape of canola, corn, wheat, and our veggies. No labels to make us aware. Oh, dear genetics is changing our food molecules, rearranging you and I. They are estranging with toxics and unlabeled food. Fats of all kinds need attention in labeling. Fiber, cholesterol, sodium, and MSG. Additives listing what has been dumped in them. Don't tell us that what genes are in there. Oh dear, genetics is changing. Our food molecules rearranging. You and I, they are estranging with toxins and unlabeled food.
As you know, the common argument they use when they infiltrate schools is that GMOs are safe and needed, that our youth are part of a socially responsible action by eating these genetically modified foods. Little do they know that this is as far from the truth as they could possibly get. Not only that, but farmers are being sued for genetically modified seeds that they did not plant, they cannot use, they did not grow, and they cannot sell. The corporate mentality of growth at all costs is having devastating impacts on our planet, our environment, and our health. From the dying off of our marine life, to the melting of our glaciers, global warming, dying off of our bees and butterflies, even the loss of control of safe food and seed supply. It's really heart-wrenching to see the damage Monsanto seeds and Roundup is causing to our environment and to our health. The use of agricultural pesticides resulting in huge rise of cancer and disease in our own nation. But the science is on our side, and the evidence is clear that the use of agricultural pesticides such as Roundup in our food is resulting in huge rise of cancer, digestive disorders, kidney failure, even things like neurological diseases. Today, the leading cause of death in children is cancer. And Roundup, which is a herbicide used with GMOs, has been directly linked to cancer. We've been eating this for the past 20 years, and it is not labeled on our food. An MIT researcher even estimated that by 2025, 50% of children will have autism due to the glyphosate in our food, water, air, and soil. When will the insanity stop? And our government is turning a blind eye. I mean, for instance, I challenged our Minister of Health a couple of years ago, and it took a year for her to respond, and 20,000 signatures later. When she finally responded with the help of Global News, we had a lengthy meeting, and I was told that she did not have the mandate to label GMOs. So she set up a meeting with me for the Health Canada officials and scientists. When I met with them, they told me the same thing, that they didn't have the mandate to label GMOs. So I asked them, who does have the mandate? Who is responsible for our transparency? Who's responsible for giving us the right to know what's in our food? And the response I got was that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency might have the mandate, but they probably wouldn't want to label GMOs anyways. That they probably aren't really responsible for it. Isn't it scary to think that there's no one looking out for us? Even our own elected officials, such as our Minister of Agriculture, Jerry Ritz. He's recently determined that he has to combat the misinformation about GMOs, and I quote, he said farmers must combat the steady stream of misinformation by spreading the word that GM crops are more sustainable and higher yielding than conventional crops, because that's the message that resonates with the public. Ritz also took a shot at the anti-GMO movement, or as I like to call myself, the pro-nature movement, claiming our motives have nothing to do with food safety. On top of that, and I quote, he said, it's a fundraiser. This is all about making money. He said, this is what drove 2 of the founding members of Greenpeace away from Greenpeace. So, for instance, us, we're a non-profit organization. We're doing it to make money for ourselves, obviously. No, of course we're not. We're trying to get the word out there. We're trying to gain transparency for every single one of us. That way we all have the right to know what's in our food. Our movement has struggled to gain funds over the past years, and he's criticizing us of trying to gain money for ourselves. When our very government, I mean particularly Jerry Ritz, he says that he supports biotech corporations, but by supporting biotech, he's also supporting their tactics, which include putting ads in newspapers, which supposedly represent all farmers. He's also distributing new pro-GMO activity books and coloring books to schools. He's hiring media and PR to put a good rep on GMOs and smearing the reputation of any scientist whose research shows biotech crops in a negative light. And so the result of this all is misinformation. And their goal is to prevent us from having the right to know that 64 other countries around the world already require. Canada and the US are the only 2 industrialized nations in the world that don't require mandatory GMO labeling. Why not us? Don't we deserve the same right? Food companies are now actually starting to realize the benefit of going non-GMO. Products that are non-GMO, when it has the verified sticker, usually have about a 20% increase in sales. So more and more companies are starting to see the benefit not only for themselves, but for the environment, for our health, for the consumer. Not only that, but Chipotle, Whole Foods, and the original flavor of Cheerios have decided to go non-GMO. This is the progress we are making by coming to this march. When you are coming to the march against Monsanto every year, you are not just marching against Monsanto. You are marching for nature. You are marching for our environment. You are marching for our health. And you're marching for all of our democratic right to know what's in our food. So thank you, all of you, for coming out. Huge progress that we've also seen in the U.S. Vermont has just passed a labeling law. So now they are going to have mandatory GMO labeling. There are a couple of other states that have conditional labeling laws. On top of that, there are many other states that are looking into putting mandatory GMO labeling laws. So within a year or two, we could have mandatory GMO labeling in the U.S. And there's hope for Canada as well. I recently had the opportunity to work with MP Murray Rankin. He is now the official health critic for the NDPs. And he has put in a motion called M480, which is to get mandatory GMO labeling. So what we need every single person to do here today is to call your MP. Please call your MP and tell them to support mandatory GMO labeling. It's so important. Murray needs your support. Because if this motion passes, we will have mandatory GMO labeling here in Canada. So please get out there, email your MP, call your MP. It is important for every single one of us. On top of that, the election's coming up this year. We have an incredible opportunity to spread awareness about GMOs. Also, tell your neighbors, tell your friends, go to your local grocery store and tell them that you will not shop there unless they carry more non-GMO products. They will do it. They listen to consumers, trust me. Also, what's happening right now, which is a little bit disappointing, is the genetically modified apple. It was just approved here in Canada not too long ago. And actually, I spoke with our Health Canada officials and asked them when it would be approved. And they lied to my face. I asked them when, and they said it could possibly be a year from now. And a week later, it was approved. Now, although this was disappointing, our movement continues to grow. Go to your grocery store, tell them you won't shop there if they carry the GMO apple. The World Health Organization has recently said that GMOs, the herbicide that they use with GMOs, which is glyphosate and Roundup, is a probable carcinogen, and it probably causes cancer in humans. Now, when I spoke to our Minister of Health here in Canada, she said that if there was any issue with GMOs, she would label them. Well, these GMOs are being drenched in glyphosate and drenched in Roundup. And if it's causing cancer, shouldn't she uphold her promise? Shouldn't she label GMOs? But I'm so glad that this is a time where everyone is starting to wake up, and especially the youth. They're waking up, they're rising up. They're standing up for our future. And as a part of the youth, I can only allow myself to have hope for the future. To me, giving up on hope for our future would be like giving up on the miracle of life, the miracle of nature, the miracle of all of us. That's why we have to continue with this work. As I always say, one planet for all for one planet. Thank you.